But what, like breakfast? I mean, fruit, obviously, fresh fruit.
Yeah. Good? Oh, we're recording. Happy days. Yep, I'll clap. Hey.
Don't forget to take your headphones off, Dan. I'm not talking to him for an hour and a fucking hour. You're wearing them headphones.
I'm testing the audio for those people's benefit.
Okay. Now he's mentioned.
See, he's still not. He's
I can't get it out of my head. He's like, what is this?
We've been rolling, what, 30 seconds?
What's it, Warren? You know, the you remember Warren? Cameron Diaz's brother in something about Mary. And he's going, what's that behind your ear? Because she touched his ear and he went fucking mental. You've seen.
I'm hearing what they're hearing, so I'm seeing you waiting. Like 30 seconds in, he's still not talking into the mic.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Get this on fucking YouTube. We're talking about fucking hell. I feel like I'm the one that's been smoking. What do you call it? Something about Mary.
Yeah.
And you remember
I haven't seen that for a long time. Is that one of your favourite movies?
Yeah, he's the big. Obviously, he plays like a retarded kid.
Should I take him off?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
But he wears earmuffs.
You're talking to the mic. I'm going to put him back on if you're not talking to the mic.
He wears earmuffs because nobody's allowed to touch his ear. There you go. And then he goes, I've got a baseball. I found it right behind your ear. And he goes, fucking slams him through the table. And remember the stepdad? She's got a black stepdad and the white mum. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like to Ben Stiller. No. You remember it, right? Dan's looking at me like, what the fuck is he talking about?
I don't remember.
The film's amazing, mate. I love it.
Is that how you pass the time between Birmingham and Vegas when you're flying out?
You know, I should read. I should read more.
Should you?
I should.
Yeah, but we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago when we weren't recording.
Is this recording?
Yeah, this is.
Same part of the podcast, is it?
Yeah.
Could be oh, is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go. Okay.
Have you been smoking?
If I know. Mate, imagine me smoking.
No, I can't.
Okay, no, you better lock me in. If I move this microphone, guys, then tell me.
We're looking at James and Jamie off camera. We've got the Raptors, the media Raptors.
The Raptors.
Yeah, you like that, don't you? Prowling arenas at cage fighting events.
The Raptors.
Gathering good content for the YouTube channel. What was I going to say? You were talking a little while ago, you were on a plane and a guy was moving his feet.
Oh.
So you're not going to be able to read on a plane because it's too easy to get distracted from reading.
Yeah, don't shake. Don't shake around me.
What was he doing? Just
like tapping his foot. I was like...
I sent you a video of a guy doing the same thing on a plane.
I can't. When I was in Melbourne, there was a lot of... I don't know what it is in there. You got to be careful, haven't you? There was... Sometimes when you go to China, they eat in a specific way. Like fucking pigs, right? And I can't...
A lot of slurping.
Oh my God.
Pulling their stomach up their thing out and pushing their
And
stomach.
it seems to be, it's like I've experienced it more in China than I have any other country. Mm-hmm. And I was in Melbourne, I went down for breakfast and the guy, and I got up and stormed out. After I withheld it for about 10 minutes, there was a guy and his wife sat next to me. And he was just like, honest to God, it was unreal. And I was like, only so many like stairs and stuff. Look, and I'm looking right at him, and he's like looking at me thinking, because it's just I don't know what it is. Is it the way is it a culture thing? I don't know. But he's like through the tea and then open. Honest to God, I wanted to launch this guy. I was so upset that I was really enjoying my breakfast, so upset. And I just got up and was like, mumbled like something under my breath as I walked past. Anyway, so I was visibly upset, but this is an episode, I didn't like it. Last week, when we were in Prague, I stayed the extra day because I was doing a seminar. Mm-hmm. In the Hilton, come down to breakfast on the Monday morning. Chinese couple come and sit next to me. I was like, you fucking not again. And it did happen again. This guy had like 3 stations set up. There was like a plate of food, fruit and stuff. There was like a bowl of... he must have took one of everything from the buffet. And then he had a bowl of cereal. So it was like... I found it fascinating to begin with. So I'm sitting there, I'm like looking out the corner of my eye thinking, please don't do it again. And I was like, oh, fucking hell. And he started, but he was going from like one plate to the second plate, and then like obviously half chewing it, then going on to the cereal, and I was like, in the end, just looking. And then he got the hot drink out, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I couldn't, so
If you have to slurp, it's too hot.
I couldn't, I don't know what it is in China, and I've experienced it in China too, you know. It's obviously not everybody, but just they have a specific and
it's
eating
cultural.
habit.
It's a way of showing appreciation for the food. I remember the first time I went over there, honestly.
Not round me. Appreciate it? No way. So it's like the shaking thing, but it's a disorder. It's a genuine thing. I don't know what it's called. Someone's told me, like, I was in a...
Well, the sound one is misophonia.
Yeah.
Sound of people eating, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm the same. People crunching. Chewing.
I was in the lift
crunching.
in Vegas a couple of years ago. I can't remember which hotel was in, but, you know, in Vegas at peak time, it's stopping on every floor. And this guy's got in with he must have had a fucking whole pack of chewing gum in his mouth. And he's going to town on this chewing gum. He stood, and this is in close proximity in a lift. I felt like a fox in a chicken coop, mate. I was thinking, I'm just going to do everyone in this lift. And this guy was going to town. I was like, I turn around. I'm like this close to him. I'm just like standing. He's like, not stopping. He's like looking at me. What are you staring at, you weirdo? And I'm like, what are you fucking eating like that? You went, oh God, yeah. It was, and the lift journey, it felt like it was an hour long, and it kept stopping on every floor, and every time it was like peeing, and I'm like, you can see like, if you had the CCTV, sorry about this, guys.
Let's request it. Let's see if we can get the CCTV footage.
If you had the CCTV footage of, and I'm like the first couple of times, then I was like, I was right on him, and he was right in me, and I thought, I was so upset. I was like, we're not putting this on the podcast.
Yeah, we
You
are.
can't put this in the podcast because I want to swear even more.
I feel exactly the same.
I
though.
was full.
My sister will tell you, like all the way through when we were kids, like she would suck her cornflakes because I get fucking angry. Her chewing.
God.
It's the same thing. Honestly, it's called misophonia. And the thing with people shaking, that's sensory processing disorder. You're
I've got them both.
Tuned in.
I've got them
That's
both.
why you're so good at refereeing. Because you're hyper aware in the moment.
We've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Maybe some people would disagree, but yeah, eating and But that thing in Vegas, man, I think I was on the 28th floor, and it was stopping at least every other one. Ping, ping, and I'm like, oh, you fucking hell. Are you kidding me? People in the lift was like, who's this nutcase? As the lift finally got to the ground, I was up. It's like I couldn't breathe. I like burst out through the crowd, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to play this back to my wife so she understands, because I experience this all the time. And because
we can't put this on the podcast.
Of course we can.
Because I can go full bore about other experiences.
Go on then.
You know, like with people, like if people behind me, like, you know, the personal space thing. I mean, what's this got to do with
nudging me in a line when I'm waiting to go to customs?
I've physically...
Like, keep touching my bag.
Don't touch me. That's what. Just don't touch me. I've never touched anyone in a line in my life.
Yeah. No. Why would you need to? You
don't need
to.
Don't touch me. And kissing. That sound again. People think you can't put this on the podcast. They're gonna think I'm a right fucking weirdo. But yeah, that kissing sound as well. If you're doing it, happy days. If it's you that's doing it, but that
in public.
Noises and
Yeah.
If you're away from me, if I can't hear it, you're good to go.
Yeah.
If you're doing it in earshot and I hear that swishy fucking sound, bang, 0 to 60 real fast.
Yeah. Do you remember the video I sent you the other week when I was sitting on the plane and I'm on the emergency row, so I've got a bit of extra floor space?
You sent me a video clip.
But like these seats, I don't know that they're attached differently to the plane, but it felt like we're on the same plank, like attached to a plank. And this guy is drumming with his legs.
Yeah. People
and
go, just don't look, and you don't understand.
Seat.
What do you mean, just don't look? Because if he does it once, then that's it.
You know it's there now.
Yeah, so if a guy's kissing, eating, and shaking his foot, they're dead.
What about people that get up on a plane and use the back of your seat to help them get up?
Yeah, that one
pisses me off. Or as soon as you get on the plane, the first thing to do is drop the seat right back.
That's another one for me.
I have to use my knees.
That's another one.
If there's someone kicking the back of your seat, I'm probably sat behind you.
I've objected quite strongly more than once on a flight, as you can imagine.
Objected quite strongly.
I'm not, if there's a problem, you're going to know.
Yeah.
But I think I'm considerate, I don't want to do that. It's like if you're, like people on an exit row. Mm-hmm. If you've got all that space in front of you and you still put the fucking seat back, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. That's just not on, is it?
Have you got some proper noise cancelling headphones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How differently do they make travelling?
It makes it bearable.
It's amazing that you do as much.
And I'm a window man. I'm not an aisle man.
Is that right?
Because you hang out, I'll just keep years of travelling, it's experience. Because the trolleys and the larger people will bang you as they walk past. At least on a window, you can kind of tilt and pull yourself into a state of sleep.
I always take something to cover my head as well. I put my headphones on, then I just cover my head.
Hats down. I'll put it over my just because I don't want.
No, I've got to cover my whole.
I just don't want people taking pictures of you lying there with your mouth open. Because social media is a fucking straight on there. Look at Dan Hardy on this flight catching flies. Boom.
Yeah. In economy.
Yeah.
With somebody else's seat leaning on his knees.
Yeah, that's what they think. They were flying first class and all these events. But traveling and noises. Yeah.
So
I hope you guys. I hope you like this part of it. But
so you're heading out to Vegas Friday?
Friday. I'll go out quite late this time.
Oh, yeah.
It's a busy time, but I go out for 235 at the weekend. I can't wait.
Yeah, and we were talking about it before we start recording. You love Vegas.
I do love Vegas
for short stints.
For what it is.
Yeah, same as London, as you were saying.
Exactly.
I feel the same about that. In and out. I couldn't do much more than 3 days there, really.
No.
I lived in Vegas, but it was exhausting. Yeah,
but at least you get escape from the, a lot of people think that Vegas is just what it is.
Yeah.
And for me, it is. It's like a lot of Vizzies there, but you know what I mean. The Strip is, with it being the Strip is one thing. It's like a carnival. Like we said, it's like a theme park, a movie set.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is to me.
It reminds me of the place, the old school Disney Pinocchio. Where all the bad kids go, where they're playing pool and smoking cigars before they turn into donkeys.
Yeah.
That's what Vegas reminds me of. It's short-lived. If you stay there for too long, you're going to make an ass of yourself.
I've saw some, like we were talking about it off camera, but that's what it is like a theme park. In there for a short burst, 3 or 4 days. Sandwich in the middle was obviously a passion of mine with the fights. I love it there. I'm not a gambler, so I never get caught out that way. I don't come home with less than what I went with. I always come home with my wages, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I do. I love
it's a positive transaction with Vegas, which is rare.
It is, and the excitement around with the when you do like the iconic, the MGM for the first time and stuff like that. When I got licensed there, it was obviously a big deal for me. It was probably the biggest thing that's happened for me. So, I owe special thanks to someone who knows who it is.
Nice. I remember one of the first times I went to Vegas, and I was driving down Paradise on the way from the airport, and I saw a guy walking along with just a white vest and what looked like a motel curtain wrapped around his waist and clipped. It looked like he'd come to Vegas and had a great time, lost everything, gambled his plane ticket home, and that was what he was left with. And that was my everlasting. That's the potential.
That's Vegas.
That's the
yeah. It's such extreme in it. I mean, I've saw kind of similar things. It is. It's just you try and explain to people, and it's good. Like even outside of fights, it's an amazing place if you take it for what it is. Mm-hmm. Like I said, with an amusement park, you wouldn't live in an amusement park, would you?
No.
You wouldn't live in a theme park, and that's what Vegas is. You go there, you do everything to excess. You have good time. You go there with your missus. Go there with a lot of blokes do it like with stag do's.
With somebody else's missus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blokes do.
Yeah,
it's Vegas.
That's Vegas.
Yeah,
Vegas.
It's when I lived there. What I felt about Vegas is it's the place where people come and just dump all their shit.
Yeah.
They just come and they just make absolute animals
excess.
Of themselves. Yeah.
And in the summer, it's like it's ridiculous
I moved to Vegas
heat.
in May, and it was I was cooking as I was moving stuff in from the van. It was awful. Yeah, I don't like sweating when I'm not training.
If we walk, sometimes in the summer, like fight week, for instance, in July.
Mm-hmm.
So when you walk from the hotel, Now it's in the T-Mobile. It was a bit better in the MGM because you could stay indoors. You come from your room to the lobby, downstairs to the basement where the MGM was. But like if you go out, so I remember, so I'm dressed in black trousers, and we had to walk outside to go to the T-Mobile when it first opened. Yeah.
Sweating before
you got in there, like viciously uncomfortable. Like people in my way, boom, trying to get straight past. Yeah. And you could see where it was, but in Vegas, obviously on the boulevard, obviously the road, it's like, it's like playing Frogger. Mm-hmm. You can't jaywalk in Vegas. You stand there in the sun till that's, don't walk. Then we could cross. And I was thinking, I don't want to run because I'm going to sweat more. So I may as well brisk walk. And I was trapped in this mindset, but yeah.
And you got to do the pulling of the t-shirt as well.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, Vegas in the summer's
awful.
No fun.
No.
Unless you're sunbathing.
Right. Before we get into the more serious subjects, I want to ask you about that video I sent you the other day. Right? We're going to grab this, aren't we? And we're going to stick it in the video so you guys will be able to watch this as we're talking about it. But so it's I'm gonna do my best at my Portuguese pronunciation. Michel Pereira. So Tim Dog start a live video.
He tries to backflip guard pass.
Yeah.
Few people sent it me that.
Yeah.
That's where he lands. Okay, technically, his right foot. Mm-hmm. It's an illegal action.
Yeah.
Because if you backflipped and landed on him, it's double foot, correct. Mm-hmm. It'd be classed as a stomp.
Yeah.
Because you would land flat-footed on your opponent, and you can kick to a grounded opponent, their body, arms, and legs, but you can't land feet first or stomp them in any shape or form.
Remember when you refereed me against Danny Rushton, and at the Octagon Centre in Sheffield, and he kneed me in the face when I was on all fours, and you stopped him and you told him off for that, and stood us back up, and then.
You soccer kicked him.
And then I soccer kicked him in the body.
And
he
screaming.
Looked at you like, what?
Yeah, I remember that distinctly.
Yeah. That was one of the best kicks I've thrown. Just volleyed him in the ribs.
That little sick look on your face.
I've got that. We'll drop
you had that little, talking that was vintage. That was peak Dan Hardy, that was. Well, to the guys who'd listened before, was said about very few guys look like they actually enjoy themselves. And yours truly was one of them.
Is that right?
Yeah, he did. He always looked like, he was. I remember the Arborello fight as well. That's distinct too.
Yeah, that's when I was doing the spinning fist.
Yeah, he stopped him. But I remember that soccer because I remember his corner screaming in. Mm-hmm. Because they just don't get it. Because it's not something that's you see very much. But sorry, going back to the video. Yeah. He does he does a backflip guard pass. I mean, he's doing all kinds of things there off the cage.
But, so what about that? Obviously fence grabbing's illegal, but he's not grabbing the fence to stop a takedown. He's grabbing the fence to backflip off it.
Yeah.
That's got to be illegal as well, right?
No.
That's not illegal.
No. If somebody, look.
But he's grabbing the fence.
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Somebody's asked me that before.
Right.
Let's say me and you are fighting and we separate and there's 6 foot between us, and then I just lean up the fence and hold the fence. Okay, the action of holding the fence is illegal. Mm-hmm. But that's when I'm doing something to alter, prevent, or make something happen in the course of a fight. If I'm like hanging out on the fence for a second, yes, it's an illegal action, but I'm not affecting the fight in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, he wouldn't stay there, hypothetically. But he was holding the fence, grabbing onto the fence to...
So you classify that more as like a Showtime kick?
He's not... If you're holding the fence to adversely affect the fight, you getting back up or stopping your opponent take you down, that's different. But if you're in free play by yourself, of course, like you remember Charles Bennett.
I was just about to bring it up. What about when he sat on the cage?
Class it as unsportsmanlike.
So what would you do? Warn him? Would you tell him to get off?
Of course.
Would you laugh and point?
I don't think I'd laugh. Yeah, what are you doing? No, stuff like that. You could, when that guy is, and I didn't see the full video, funnily enough, because a few people, I didn't see all this, him jumping and cartwheeling off the fence.
Most of it's legal. Most of it's perfectly legal. He's doing a lot of fancy stuff.
But you see that's not even.
A lot of it's unsuccessful.
That's a bit thingy to...
That's the one I was most interested in, the backflip off the fence where he grabs
Look,
on.
if that's happening to me in that fight, I'm going to stop that and I'm going to slow that shit down. So I'm going to say, look, listen, you just have to put it right and say to him, technically, like I said, if he's holding the fence at that point, he's not using it to gain an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, he could be gaining an advantage because he's trying an acrobatic cartwheel kick. And he may or may not be able to do that when he's in a freestanding position. But when you start doing things, we have some covering rules, like disregarding referees' instruction, being unsportsmanlike. That is just, you're not keeping within the ethos of a fight.
Right.
If I'm running up the cage and jumping, if you're doing like a Showtime thing, like an isolated thing, it's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pushing and I'm getting velocity or changing direction off a cage trajectory. But if I'm jumping up on cages, sitting on the top, of course that's not going to be allowed.
But pushing off the fence to strike's all right.
That's perfectly legal.
You just can't hold.
Yeah, but this guy's jumping on it like a cat, and then backflipping
like
up.
a cat.
Yeah,
Or nimbly bimbly. Who gets that reference?
What's that mean?
You don't know that reference, do
No.
you? Super Troopers. That's another good movie for you to watch. Although you might not smoke enough weed to understand that one. Super Troopers. You boys know that one, right? Yeah. It's basically it's about these highway patrol. Oh, hang on, we're live. It's about these highway patrol guys. Hello, Mark. These highway patrol guys that are they're just chaos. They're just mad, and they punk everybody that they pull over. It's a movie. They made a sequel now. I'll spin this around, and Kid Mystery can grab it. Oh, there's Kid Mystery now, and there's Slim.
The Raptors.
Hey, Slim. The Raptors. Yeah, mate. I'll let you grab that. Okay, so what do you want to talk about today? Do you want to talk about a bit about the Alvey thing?
Nah.
I mean, were you surprised that Kevin McDonald stopped it when he did?
I could have made I missed a trick there.
You did.
I missed a trick.
You did. You could have blamed him for all that.
I did. I missed a trick. You know what? I don't want to talk about it because, number one, I said what I said. Number two, I don't want to keep it current. And number three, I don't seek validation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need validity on that. I've said what I've said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. But what I was touching on was, like, let's leave that incident.
Mm-hmm.
Said that. Don't need to go back over it. When a referee talks about his performance in a particular fight, that's a choice for that referee to do. In fact, a lot of people don't understand. After a fight, or if something's happened, or the worst thing for us is when somebody perceives something has happened. They think the ref made a mistake. We're faced with three choices. Sometimes we're not faced with any choices because a lot of commissions and they don't like you talking. And I get that, because like, kind of like what happened with me with Alvey, it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You give an explanation, people are going to say, so what? And they're going to ridicule you anyway. It's I didn't have to do what I did. It comes back to these three choice things. As a referee, once the fight's over and people want to question you on what you did, and a lot of the time it's completely incorrect, but let's say there is anything in a particular fight that was up for question or debate, you'll have three choices. First, say nothing. Modus operandi, head in the sand, what are you talking about? Radio silence. So everybody gets left in the lurch, and everybody gets left pondering and talking. But that's the way of social media. No problem. Second choice, say something, but stick to your guns and say, yes, I done that. And if I had the choice to do it again, I'd do nothing different. Didn't put a foot wrong. Third choice, say something and go, hey, you know what? On another day, maybe I should have acted sooner, later, indifferent, and basically own it. So that's your three choices. Ignore it and let it sweep. Say something but stick to your guns. Or, in my instance, the case that we were talking about, say something and go, you know what, I'm big and ugly enough to put my hands up and say, on another day, maybe they've done something different. And that's all we're left with, Like I said, people don't expect us to talk, and I get that, for good reason, even superiors that I will report to, and that's why we're not even going back on that situation today to break it down in any conceivable way, because I've done that, and I'm not going to say I'm not going to do it again, but it's going to be a long time before I do it again.
Yeah.
Because I got nothing out of it, apart from maybe a little bit of personal satisfaction to say, look, you don't know who I am. And to me, that was character forming. You know, I'm trying to show you my character. I didn't have to do that. I can just let people wrongly assume I'm some arrogant hard ass, because that's what most people think anyway on social media, because that's what they see the role as a referee as. But you know, I don't lose sleep over that, because anybody who knows me as a person, you know, my character's greater than reputation.
Yeah,
a reputation's what people think you are, and character's who you really are, and that's what I'm concerned about. So I'm back to doing what I do best, and I don't say that missingly or fleetingly. You know, I'm not here to doubt myself. I know what I am, but more importantly, I know who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to me.
So what was it like to get off the plane from Melbourne and go straight to Cage Warriors 101, where we had the main event, where we had the leg break? I mean...
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, right.
But I was... listen, if anything... there you go.
You're starting to understand why we call the
podcast
Listen.
Listen. If anything, I said about the person who I shan't name, but that little instance that happened to me in Melbourne, if anything, it's inspired me. You've triggered me even more. I'm about to push myself. People always thought that when I said about a referee, they think when you get to a certain level for a certain amount of time, you switch off. Nothing could be further from the truth, for me anyway. I always said about perfection, you know, being perfect. People go, oh, it was perfect. This, in my instance, in my eyes, perfection doesn't exist. But without, you know, it's no life coach or cliche. I always try to be, because that's what keeps me ahead. And even after so many years, find me another official that will put themselves out there like I have and will do.
Yeah. I think that's why it's important, though, because most people don't. And I also think that, and I don't mind saying this, I think there are some referees that people do question and that should be questioned. And I think if there's an opportunity sometimes for those referees to speak once they have made what the public would consider a questionable call, then we can start seeing the character of these referees, understand what they were seeing in that moment, and maybe decide whether they should actually be in that position or not. I
just don't, you know, like I said, I've done it a few times, but it'll be a long time before I do it. I don't want to upset people who I have great admiration and respect for, and who I class as my superiors in this game. If they give me advice that's, you know, because you don't see it in other sports, and I can wholly understand that, because what happens as a referee, like I said, that adage of you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Those three choices: speak, yes, no. That's it. And yes, no being indifference to you're sticking by your guns. At the end of it, a lot of people are just going to, they're still not going to think any different. So you're thinking, why put yourself through that? Why put your opponent or future things through that? You may as well just swallow it, put it down to what it is, and then for me now, it's all about action. For people to think that what I did was questionable, watch me now, because it's inspired me. Yeah. Even after 15 years in this game, I feel myself leveling up even more. I've got even more attention to detail. When I went to Cage Warriors, I portrayed that. I felt razor sharp. When I was in UFC in Prague last week, I felt razor sharp. You know, with my Perdisoli stoppage and stuff.
That's the next thing I want to talk about.
I felt razor sharp, and I'm feeling razor sharp. Sometimes these little bumps in the road, it's going to give me a kick up the ass to reflect on myself and let people know that, listen, there's no harsher critic of me than me. I'm the one seeking perfection. I'm the one who's pushing myself to be the best I can for these athletes. I don't take this on a whim. When I do my job, I want to be the best, and I want to do the best, and that's what's important to me.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Pedersoli thing, because there are two things I want to talk about. The first one is the Pedersoli, and the other one, so I don't forget it, are the fence grabs. We had two fence grabs, one that was punished and one that wasn't in Prague. We'll touch on that after. But the Pedersoli fight, so the official time was 4 minutes 59 seconds of the first round. And by my scorecard, at least, Pedersoli was winning that round. I felt like he was controlling the space. He was being the aggressor, and it just felt like Dwight Grant was kind of measuring him and trying to figure out his timing. But when he did, and he caught him with that big right hand, well, I'll let you talk. What did you see in that moment when you stepped in and stopped it, and the process of, you saw him get knocked down, it was a bad knockdown, perfectly timed punch, and then the process after that. So what were you seeing from a referee's perspective?
Yeah, well, from a decision-making process, you saw what happened. He steps in. I think he was throwing a knee.
Yeah.
Gumshield goes to row X. He gets dropped face first on the mat. Still there in my eyes. Kind of clambers back to all fours. Grant follows up. 1 or 2 or 3 shots, and you'll see Pedersoli go limp. That's all I need. Mm-hmm. Step in, do my job, unquestionable. There's no furore, no this, no that. He was obviously understandably up, but I spoke, he's a real nice kid. I spoke to him the day afterwards, and he understands and respects. Like I said, perfection doesn't exist to me. If I was faced with that same scenario, I'd stop it 11 times out of 10. Yeah. It's as clear cut as you're going to get.
For sure.
I think it was...
So what about the
I'm
moment
just doing my job.
Yeah,
I can't say it was a good stoppage. I was doing my job.
It was a good stoppage, and it was clear, especially when we saw the replay. So what about that moment afterwards? Because this is something that you've said to me that I think it's important for everybody else to hear. You spoke about that moment where he's now going to stand up, and you can see his legs aren't underneath him, and your interaction with him in that moment. So what do you do? Because he was falling back into the fence, and you instinctively
shadow
went
him
to catch him. Yeah. So he didn't fall badly.
But I want people to see.
Yes.
He can see himself, and it helps those guys as well. Because of course, look, he's a warrior, a fighter, all of these things. Of course, he's upset. People, when they lose fights or they get stopped, it's always the TKO thing. When they get stopped, they always want to stay in the fight, generally, by and large, and they always think they're still there. But like I said, we're taking on any instance, any referee, on any unfolding sequence of events. Like I said, and that's 4:59. At that point, it really doesn't matter. Excuse me, it really doesn't matter, and that's a perfect adage. When I say, I don't care about the clock. When I think you're out and the lights are off, it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember there was a fight. It was Julio Cesar Chavez against Meldrick Taylor, and Meldrick Taylor was winning the fight all the way up to the last round.
12th round.
Chavez just blasted him, and there was a point there where they were like, "You should," the referee stepped in and just stopped it and waved it off.
Yeah.
And you're like, if he'd have left it another 20 seconds, 30 seconds, he would have won on the scorecards. But the referee said the same thing. It doesn't matter at what point in the fight I have to stop it. If he can't defend himself, that's when I stop the fight.
Yeah, and that's like nice. A perfect adage of what it is, because what you'll do, like in the Pedersoli, you'll see from a damage inflicted point of view, from a concussive point of view, he got dropped virtually as hard as you can get to being dropped without the door completely shutting.
Yeah.
Face down. I let him take that. Then you'll see the fight. But I let Grant seal the deal in terms of let him have the door shut.
Yeah.
And there's no question mark on what he does. And sometimes you have to, as a referee, I'm thinking from a boxing adage as well. I remember one of my favourite round of boxing was probably ever was my favourite round of boxing that I can't even... Diego Corrales and Castillo.
Right.
When you see Corrales got dropped twice in the same round. I think it was round 10. Yeah. Castillo Corrales. Tony Weeks was the referee. He's a fantastic...
Yeah. He was the referee that Conor brought in to help with the...
No. Conor brought in...
or was he the referee that actually was in the fight?
No, it was Robert Bird who was the referee.
Okay. I know what you mean, though. The guy with the moustache.
It was Cortez.
Right. Okay.
Cortez, who I'm sure it was Cortez who kind of brought in. But Tony Weeks is he's also a licensed MMA judge in Nevada, super experienced international boxing referee. And that fight, I remember it was incredible. Yeah, Corrales went down twice in the round. Sure, it was round 10, 9 or 10. Went down twice in the round.
Right.
And he's doing all the trick, Gumshield comes out, goes to the corner twice, and that. And what do you call it? Gooseman in the corners, it was almost, it's like goosebumps. You could, maybe if the guys can cut back to a video and show it, you see him say to him, there he goes, you better fucking get inside of him. Like he's roasting him. And then he comes out and he turns it round, clips him, puts him against the ropes, and Castillo's out standing. And Tony Weeks, perfect stoppage, perfect. And that was very dramatic. And another one that was a good adage in boxing was, if you remember the first fight of Carl Froch and George Groves, when he got clipped and stopped standing against the rope, and everybody, it was...
was that in Nottingham, that was, wasn't it?
I can't remember where the first fight took place. Obviously, the second fight was put beyond all credit, knockout of the decade, one of the knockout, was certainly knockout of the year. But the first fight, I think it was John Connor,
right,
was the referee.
Out of Terminator.
Sorry?
Out of Terminator. That's John Connor, isn't it? Is that not John Connor?
I think John Connor was the boxing ref who stepped in. Obviously, everyone was questioning it.
Right.
And it happens in MMA a lot. You see, especially a standing stoppage. Mm-hmm. And I'm quite hot on the standing stoppages because when you're out, you're out.
Jessica Penney. That's the one that comes
to mind. I mean, I've stopped a UFC World Championship fight in a standing thing, because the thing is that fans and people don't, because what you are not used to seeing in MMA is a fight. Most of the time, 99% of fights are finished on the ground, either via TKO, ground and pound, submission, knockout. Mm-hmm. So you are used to seeing, a fan and a paying member of the public, everyone watching at home, fans, corners, commentators. 9.5 times out of 10, you're used to seeing the fight ended with somebody lying on their back, man or woman. Yeah. So it's quite an alien concept in MMA specifically when a referee chooses to stop it standing. Mm-hmm. Standing TKOs are quite rare, and that's why it's an aesthetic thing, because people are, oh, what's happened there?
Yeah, because that's what Conor said after the Mayweather fight. He said, let me fall, because that was stop standing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was stop standing. Yeah.
But then, I think back to remember when Phil Baroni made his UFC debut?
Dave Monet.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a standing TKO.
Larry Landless was the ref. Yeah, I mean, he was out. I think it was Larry Landless. Yeah.
But there are occasions as well where fighters they are knocked out and their legs are locked. And
Shogun and Anthony Smith.
Perfect. That is my favourite stoppage of yours. This is a product development. This is a product in development. We need to figure out how to do this. You need a compressed air canister in your back pocket with a little pack attached to it. So as soon as you see the fighter falling, like you did with Shogun, he's been binged with this massive elbow and he's sliding down the fence, and you go in, you caught his head so gently. It was a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, we could probably set that to some really nice classical music and have you just lower him down to the floor. But I'm thinking what we need is we need a compressed air canister in one pocket and a blanket in the other. And then as he was going down, you could just go, and as he's falling down, you just catch him and he's like a nice pillow that lands. Pull a blanket over him.
Dan Hardy's sick. No, I mean,
it was a wicked stoppage, though. I mean, you were able to catch his head before.
I've done it a few times. I've managed to catch fighters a few times because, people have said that as well. I'm trying to help people understand the mechanics of a referee. When somebody gets dropped hard and they go down, you'd always see me I think for a big guy, I'll move, and I'm always...
Like a cat.
I'm always checking myself positionally.
Yeah.
So when I see somebody get dropped hard and you'll see me run in, of course I'm running in, because at that moment in time, I'm running I'll watch him fold and go down, or her. So in my mind, I'm like, yes, but no. So of course I can't nonchalantly stroll over whilst the guy's teeing off on an unconscious guy. They'd kill me then.
Of course.
People don't understand that mechanic. When you see me run in and then quickly divert, I think I am quite nimble on my feet, When you see me run in and then quickly divert, it's because I've changed. As I'm running in, I'm like, yes, but no, because he shows me a sign, shows me something that's there, then I'll back out.
Yeah.
So I'll spin on one or pivot out the other way.
Yeah, bit of footwork, bit of Lomachenko
little bit of footwork from Lomachenko, probably more like limoncello, I don't know. So I'm running in to do what I'm doing. Of course I'm closing distance, because that's my job. At that point, I may be diving across said fighter, to stop him getting unnecessary follow-ups. So you'll see people go, oh, why is he running in? To stop the fight, potentially, because if the guy's out, I want to be there, boom, straight across. Sometimes, and that's how fast the mind works.
Yeah.
Because at the point I see you drop, I'm thinking you're out. And then as I'm running, that fraction of 1/100th of a second, you just do that one thing. So I know in a cognitive sense, you're still there. You post out, you try and get back up. So, whoa, spin, and then sometimes you got to let it play out.
Yeah. Have you ever taken a good shot while stopping a fight? I think I punched you in the leg once.
Yeah, I've took some body shots, but never in. You watch now. I'm not saying this. Saturday I'll get clipped. No, because I've took like some glancing blows, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Occupational hazard.
Of course.
So I have one more question for you, and then we can talk about whatever you like if there's anything more. The fence grabs in Prague, right?
Yeah.
The first one was Daniel Tamor against Chris Fishgold, and it was the first takedown attempt right in the first round, and Herb stepped in straight away and deducted a point, which I felt was the right thing to do.
100%.
Then there was a situation in the John Dodson-Peter Yan fight where Peter Yan, I think, would have probably completed a takedown, and Dodson grabbed the fence with a hand, and nothing was done.
Okay. I think I know the instance you're talking about. The first instance you're talking about, I was there cage side. 100. I'd have done exactly the same thing because it was a clear violation. It was a deterrent to stop. There was no question he would have got that takedown. That was stern enough, and it warranted Herb coming in. 100% agree and stand by that. The second one, I think I heard people, but I didn't see what had actually gone on, so it would be unfair of me to even talk about that.
Well, my question about that more than anything is, so imagine that circumstance. The first one, the one that was punished by a point deduction, was in the first round. It was almost the first thing that happened. The second one, again with John Dodson, he grabbed the fence much later in the fight. It may have even been in the second half of the third round, and by that point he'd already taken a beating. He was already, I mean, from my perspective, he was already clearly losing the fight. He was being backed up and beaten up and punched, and nothing was really effective apart from one glancing shot he landed in the second. So my thought was, is there a point where you think, at least earlier in the fight, you're going to be harsher with those punishments because they're more impactful on the whole rest of the fight? And does it change if there's only 60 seconds left in the fight?
I think I know the question you're asking is whether a referee takes it into his mind that he knows the scores, which is that's a dangerous precedent for a referee to take.
Maybe it's more about the momentum of the fight then. So like if you're in the last 60 seconds and there's a fence grab that, you'd still stop. Because
at the end of the day, whether you, even if you were clear in your mind that you had 2 10-8s and you'd done something that solicited a point deduction, you would have to do it. We can't go, we're not there to do that. We're not there to be judges. We're there to be referees. Right. So it's not, I'm not saying that I haven't witnessed that and used the same, what's the word I'm looking for? The same thought process and protocol at amateur levels or what have you. But yeah, like I said, the second is you're talking about, it's not fair of me to talk about it because but it's another referee and I didn't see it. Yeah. But I did see the what do you call it with Peter Yan, and I think I'd have done exactly the same thing. 100% the right call.
So go on.
But fence grabs in general, it's because a lot of people, maybe I could just elaborate on that a little bit, because fence grabs, yes, it's a foul. Of course, it's there as a foul, but it's actually in the unified rules. There's only a couple of fouls mentioned with some sort of written direction, and it says that single warnings. So it's kind of like, so one of them is holding the fence, and the second is holding the equipment of your opponent, the shorts or gloves. So what they're kind of saying to us there is, from a referee's discretion, you'll use your own subject bias. Look, it's not impacting the fight, it's not doing anything, etc., etc. Like we were talking about earlier with that fight, me and you are separated, so you're not trying to take me down, and I'm not trying to get back up. But I'm standing there, hooking my fingers through this fence. Yep. By the letter of the law,
like a little teapot.
Yeah, like a little teapot. By the letter of the law, it's a foul, it's an infringement. Yeah. But I'm not doing anything to impact the fight. The guy who was grabbing on and backflipping, that is impacting because he's pulling off acrobatics that he may or may have not been able to do from a standing position, and it's just getting ridiculous. We'd get the encompassing unsportsmanlike. I'd stop the fight and let's get some control back. Yeah. But with the grabbing the fence, again, and a lot of time people will see when someone's hand goes to the fence, They're instinctive. He's grabbing. And a lot of the time they're not. Because you'll see it's impossible.
They post, but their fingers
exactly.
Yeah.
And the wording will tell you, I can place my hand against the fence. My fingers can go through the fence because you can't keep them that there. No. It's impossible. So my fingers will naturally, in some instances, poke through the fence. It's when I then elect and choose consciously to close that hand to gain an advantage, either sweeping, reversing, getting up, preventing a takedown. That's when we are at will and imposed to do something about it. And all of the times when you'll know yourself, it's a difficult position.
Yeah.
If let's say you're seated and the guy's got a double leg, he's trying to finish it, and guys are pushing off the fence. And obviously, like I said, before, people say, what do you do as a job? I said, well, I'll travel the world for people to shout at me because it's like a goldfish bowl. But you'll see guys push, and he's doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to push away from the fence. Has he been doing this and pulling up? That's the infringement. But to the watching world, they will just see the hand on the fence and they will see the fingers go through. But he's not doing anything wrong. It's not an infringement. He's allowed to push and create distance. He's just not allowed to gain any sort of purchase or advantage by closing that hand in.
Right. And the same goes for the toes.
Exactly the same. In Cage Warriors, if you remember, pointing. In Cage Warriors, it was the fight with Brian Crichton and his name escapes me. He had the late stoppage.
Yep.
Bilic. So you'll see Bilic is lying parallel to the fence. Brian Crichton's in side control. And Bilic swings his foot up. I watch him get his foot up, and then he'll claw and walk round and got the arm bar.
Yeah.
I stopped the fight. And I remember, I don't know, I think Josh and Thingy picked up it in comments. So I stopped the fight and stop. And I made him unhook his leg and go back to a side control position. Why? Because he wasn't just walking flat-footed up the fence. You could see his toes going through. And a lot of people, some people are more dexterous than others, shall we say. Yeah. Their feet are like hands, and some of them, look like primates. and they're walking up and they're grabbing. And that's also an illegal action. People will use it, particularly in an arm lock scenario, when they roll their leg back, looking for some stability, and you'll see them hook the fence.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. I see a lot of referees, they're looking at the business end and they're missing what he's doing. Yeah. Or they'll use it to walk up the wall backwards to gain traction. Walking and pushing is fine, but your eyes are diverting to make sure they're not illegally clawing the cage with their toes to gain momentum.
Makes sense. Right, I have one more question for you, and this is relevant to this weekend's card. It's the main event, and it's a playlist that I put into this week's Inside the Octagon, which is out on YouTube. I talk specifically about John Jones using destructive techniques. There are a lot of techniques that John Jones uses that are destructive, but there's one in particular that I think is interesting. He used it against Glover Teixeira very effectively, and then he used it in the Gustafsson fight most recently, the first time they clinched. And what he does is he overhooks an arm, but he keeps a bend in the underhook, and then he wrenches the elbow up on the inside. And in the Glover Teixeira fight, he did it, and he damaged the shoulder with it to basically disable that arm. And he tried to do the same thing in the Gustafsson fight. So, with that in mind, that seems like an intentional technique that is meant to injure somebody. Now, I don't have a problem with that under the rules. Where does that sit officially on the rules?
It's perfectly legal.
Fine, is it? Because I was thinking this could be...
What happens when I have you in a side mount position, key lock, Kimura, Americana, if I roll off my back, you're defending a triangle, I go to omoplata, a joint submission or a joint, if I'm persuading your joint to go somewhere that it shouldn't naturally be going, that's MMA. That's a perfectly legal technique and tactic. So
there was a Shinya Aoki fight that stands out to me, and he got, I think it was a Kimura and Americana, and he cranked it to snap the arm to damage. There was some animosity between him and the individual he was fighting, and he snapped it and then stood over the guy swearing at him. Like, I
remember that fight.
Is there anything illegal about that intention and the speed at which you crank?
No.
See, I think that's something. I think that is something that's not understood in MMA.
Of course, it's not.
Like, if I'm in side control I remember when I was fighting Daniel Weichel, you were refereeing that fight, weren't you?
Yes,
Daniel
I was.
Weichel, Doncaster, right? So I was in side control and I was...
What are you doing? That's what I remember
That was
from that
Jimmy
fight.
Wallard, yeah.
Jimmy's Leicester accent, getting a bit animated with you in the corner at the end. What are you doing?
Yeah. Because I kept trying to defend the takedown all the way through the first round, but they had that corner pad up against the fence.
The Toblerones.
The Toblerones. So I couldn't get my foot.
Instead of fighting your fight.
Yeah. So it was frustrating. But anyway, Jimmy was like, we'll just grapple with him instead. So I was able to reverse. I was in a half guard top position and I was landing elbows to the head, and then Jimmy said hit the body and then go back to the head. Great cornering. So that's what I did, and I stopped the fight. But in that circumstance, someone like John Jones that's got that destructive mentality in a fight could start targeting things that would be much more easier to affect that people aren't currently thinking about. Like if you land a clean shot on a collarbone and you break that collarbone, that's pretty much the end of the fight. But nobody are using those kind of techniques right now.
Yeah, like a karate chop.
Yeah, exactly. You could use all this.
To the clavicle, which used to be a foul, grabbing the clavicle, but now it's not a foul anymore.
Isn't that a foul anymore?
No.
Wow, okay. It's a new tie clinch you could use. Pull somebody onto a knee.
The clavicle. But no, look, let's put that to bed. Let's put it straight. I know the fight you're talking about with Aoki, and there was some bad blood. Obviously, what he did afterwards, I don't give a damn who you are. You do that with me afterwards, I'm going to frog march you, I'm going to get you out of there because... But when it comes to that, look, you're talking about, this is a fight, Dan Hardy. If I'm holding on to when you fought GSP, for instance, you think George cared if your arm broke or not? No, because you were defending Mr. Stubborn. You were doing what you're doing. And remember, there was a really good video of him. He was really pissed off, wasn't he? Not pissed off,
was
but...
it backstage?
With John Danaher.
Yeah.
And he was like showing him the mechanic. He was like, how did he not tap? I go, well, if you know how much of a sick, belligerent guy Dan Hardy is, that's why he didn't tap.
You were probably the only... You and Matt Thorpe were probably the only two people that weren't particularly surprised about that.
We're oddly enough, the way the world... I was with Matt Thorpe yesterday.
Were you?
Yeah, I was
How's
in
he
his...
doing? He's coaching a lot at the moment.
Yeah, he got a nice gym.
Has he?
Up in
12
Stockport.
gauge.
Yeah.
6'4" welterweight. He was a nightmare to fight.
Obviously, what Dan's referring to is Dan fought Matt Thorpe many years ago for the Cage Warriors strap, and it's to my intents and for all intents and purposes one of the best fights that's ever taken place at that level at that time on British soil.
Thanks.
Anyone will know, and it was at the Night of Champions 2005. There was 9. I think we spoke about it before, and there was 9 straight world titles, one after the other, but not. This is Cage Warriors. It was no Mickey Mouse.
No, Bisping was one.
Bisping, Martin
Monson.
Campman, Jeff Monson. It was
Bigfoot Silver,
yourself, one after the other, and I reffed 9 world titles. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, that was a good armbar in the first round. First round again, leaving my arms out. And
but
Matt Thorpe was...
look, you're going back to this thing you said about look, if I see a submission and I'm going to dive in it, of course I have intent. Now, I'm not saying my intent is to break your arm, but should it break, sorry, them's the rules. My intent is to make you submit.
Yeah.
You think of Big Nog in Frank Mir when he had the command. Everyone's like, oh God, I remember watching. I was thinking, because you knew what was coming. Yeah. You knew Big Nog was not going to tap till the inevitable happened. Boom, it breaks. Herb steps in. He'd have stopped it anyway, but I think it was Herb. And Big Nog taps at that point. Frank's doing his job.
Yeah.
He's doing his job. So the speed and velocity at which you attack a limb legally has no bearing on how a referee does his job. I'm there it's a fight, Dan. I'm there to make sure you don't break the rules. If you're trapped in a joint submission, whatever that may be, I can't stop. Remember I said before, I can't stop a fight based on a what if. What if, who was your ref when you fought George? Was it Kevin Mulhall?
I think it might have been.
Now imagine if Kevin had stepped in and stopped the fight. Sorry, Dan, I thought your arms broke. Yeah, well, it fucking isn't. You'd have been pissed, right?
That would have been exactly my
Remember
reply.
what I said about at the professional level, a referee doesn't stop a fight based on a what if. If you're locked in that submission, I have to let the inevitable play out sometimes. At an amateur level, we have common sense. I err on caution. I see it hyperextend, I'm stepping in, I'm stopping you, regardless of how angry you get. This is amateurs. At professional level, I have to let it happen. You know, if you stepped in because you wanted to prevent injury, you imagine that somebody comes in, double jab, right hook, and sorry, I thought you were going to get knocked out. You can't do it for what you think may happen. At the professional top level, you have to base your decisions as a referee on what's actually happened or happening. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Interesting.
But yeah, like we can't persecute a fighter because he absolutely cranked on. That's his job, to actually hang off that submission, and you're either tapping to stop it or something grotesque happens, and we are doing our job technically. And yeah, you mentioned obviously with Cage Warriors, really unfortunate, Sofian and Tom Aspinall. And like I said, obviously Sofian, hopefully you know, full and rapid recovery, my friend. But like I said on Twitter the next day, spare a thought. He was actually in tears. Tom Aspinall, spare a thought, because obviously all the thoughts are with Sofian. He's the guy with the severe injury, but Tom too. Nobody wants that to happen. He was beside himself. In fact, he said to me in the cage, "What's happened now? Is there no contest?" Sadly, no. You've won the fight. But yeah, he's a really nice lad, and they're a good bunch of people.
I can't say I'd feel the same if I'm honest. You know what I mean?
No, you wouldn't give a shit.
Did you referee when I fought Lee Dosky the second time, and I broke his arm?
What show?
It was like Fight Club UK in Sheffield.
No.
Well, it was a rematch because he beat me in my pro debut on Extreme Brawl 7. I threw everything in the kitchen sink at him in the first 2 rounds.
But you were very raw back then.
I was,
And
no
Lee's,
amateur
he's super tough, mate. He'd been around a long time.
Yeah, he'd had a few fights. And he was just durable. He managed to get through into the second round. That was 4:59 of the second round.
Submission?
Rear naked choke.
Did you go out?
Him down. No.
Yeah, Lee's.
No, I learned
He's a very solid jiu-jitsu black belt.
He is good.
Been around MMA for a long time.
But he's a southpaw and a good boxer. So in the rematch, and my granddad was in intensive care, so I'd come from the hospital to the weigh-ins. I'd weighed in. I drove back to Nottingham to the hospital, and I was at hospital all night. And then I left the hospital to go to the fight, and then went back to the hospital, and I was just in this
raging,
wild rage, And I backed him up to the fence, and I threw this body kick, and he blocked it with his forearm. And he was all right for a second, then he threw a punch and felt that the arm was broken, and that was when the fight was stopped. But I had a conversation with him afterwards, and honestly, I mean, at the time I was like, broke his arm with a kick, awesome, solid chins, good kick, But afterwards I realised, I mean, he's a guitarist, that's part of the
teacher,
That affected his job for a few months because he wasn't able to play the guitar. And I mean, I didn't think about it at the time. But in hindsight, I'm like, wow, that's... Especially with what we were getting paid at the time, like 300 quid or something.
Yeah, to have your arm snapped.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to MMA, boys.
Yeah.
And
you gotta
girls.
love it. You gotta love it.
Yeah, no, but that, like you said, that's... sadly, I've had a few... Fortunately, it's very rare. I've had the leg snap before, but... Yeah, it's not nice. It's horrible, but it's the harsh realities of what we do. Yeah. But hopefully that answered your question on submissions.
Absolutely.
Remember Rumina Sato, the standing arm breaker as well. I think it was in Shuto.
He was
folded
awesome,
his
Sato
Rumina Sato standing arm breaker. He just turned the other way very quickly.
Yeah.
Standing arm breaker, it's called.
Yeah.
And not nice.
Henzo Gracie against Sakuraba.
Oh.
Same thing. That was a bad one as well.
Yep.
Dislocated elbow.
Yep.
Right, all good?
That us.
I think we're good.
Nice.
Safe travels to Vegas. Enjoy 235. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks all.